So thank you everybody for joining today's webinar. My name is Taylor Curran, and I am the Manager of Membership Engagement here at the Toronto Region Board of Trade. And before we begin, I do ask that you just rename yourself if you haven't done already with your first and last name, just for the workshop. So I do appreciate you coming to today's workshop. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our valued members, University of Ontario Français workshop on unlocking the power of bilingual talent, attract, develop, and retain. And before we begin, I would just like to acknowledge this land we're meeting on is home to many First Nation and diverse people. Excuse me, everybody, sorry. First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people. Though you could be watching from anywhere, the board's offices are located on the traditional territory of the many Indigenous nations. They share a sense of responsibility with us for intergenerational equity, the well-being of today and tomorrow. Now, without further ado, I will pass the mic over to Jacques to begin the workshop. Thank you, Jacques.
Thank you, Taylor, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for joining us today. As we all know, today's job market is becoming increasingly competitive, and French English bilingual talents offer a distinctive advantage to organizations. So these individuals provide access to broader markets, elevate customer service, foster more inclusive workplace. Yet in Ontario, where French-English bilingualism is a rare resource, attracting and retaining these professionals can be challenging. Today, we'll explore proven strategies and tactics to help your organization attract, develop, and retain top bilingual talent. Did you know that there's Francophone University right here in Toronto, located at 9 Lower Jarvis, that can serve as a strategic partners for organizations like yours, helping you effectively tap into nurture bilingual talent to boost your competitiveness and adaptability. University offering bachelor degrees in business administration, digital culture, economics and social innovations, urban environment, human plurality, education, and mental health. A university that provide continuing education for bilingual Francophone individual or those passionate about the French language. A place where organizations like yours can request tailored upskill program for French-speaking teams, particularly in HR, sales, customer service, and senior management. This is the Université de l'Ontario Français, talent developer, a connector between employers and a pool of highly qualified bilingual graduates, and a retention supporter with tailored training programs. My name is Jacques No. I'm the proud past president of the Board of Governors of the Université de l'Ontario Français and current emeritus governor of the Université de l'Ontario Français, and a former executive at the National Bank of Canada. So I have the pleasure to moderating this exceptional workshop today. Let's get started. So first, let me introduce our speaker. First one, Funrise, Manager of Research at ICTC, specialist in labor market trends, talent acquisition, with a focus on recruiting and retaining bilingual talent in the tech and digital industries. Marie-Hélène Gaudreau, partner at Boyden, a seasoned recruitment expert with over 20 years of experience in talent acquisition, helping organizations attract and retain top bilingual talent. Caroline Doyle, Vice President at A+, and Executive Leadership Coach at Halifax Consulting, with expertise in employee engagement and leadership development. Next one is Dominique Mayou, Vice President of Human Resources at Garda World, with over 20 years of HR leadership experience. Previously, Dominique held a senior HR role at Bombardier, Canada's leading manufacturer of aircraft and rail transportation equipment, where he managed talent across complex and international operation. Daniel Vadus, Director of Continuing and Custom Learning at Université de l'Ontario Français, with expertise in sales leadership and using training as a strategic tool for employee retention. Manuela Sherizad, Chief Human Resources Officer at the Royal Ontario Museum, an expert in talent acquisition and diversity, with a proven track record in attracting and retaining bilingual professionals. And our last one, Mareva Sester, Director of the Francophone Hub at Université de l'Ontario Français, connecting bilingual talent with employees throughout strategic partnership. Let's look at the agenda now. So first one, we have the current landscape of bilingual talent in Ontario, recruiting bilingual talents, retaining bilingual talents. We're going to have success story about Gardner-Wald and Bombardier, and also Royal Ontario Museum and other public sector agencies. Mareva will talk about the Francophone Hub at the Université de l'Ontario Français. And at the end, I will come back with a summary of the takeaways, and we're going to have a question period. On this, I would like to invite Fawn Rice to talk about the current landscape of bilingual talent in Ontario. Fawn?
Thank you so much for the introduction, and pleasure to be with you here all today. My name is Fawn Rice, and I'm with the Information and Communications Technology Council. We are a national nonprofit, and my team does labor market research focused on the Canadian economy. So today I'm here to talk to you about a research project that we partnered with UOF on last year. It was published in 2023. And towards the end of the presentation, I'll give you a QR code in case you want to access the full report, but I'll be presenting some highlights here today. So the main focus of this study was to understand the current state of demand for bilingual talent in Ontario. So we wanted to know which employers in Ontario are hiring Francophones for what roles and why, and what challenges they face in hiring and retaining bilingual talent. We can go to the next slide. Perfect. So here are some high-level findings. First, no surprise, French-speaking workers in Francophone businesses are a critical part of the Ontario economy. We saw high French talent demand in Ontario. So as part of this research project, we collected job posts across the province that listed French as an asset or a requirement. And in just 1 month of collecting job posts, we found over 5,000 jobs that listed that as a feature. We also found that demand is mostly for French-English bilingual speakers, rather than folks who speak French unilingually or French in another language. And that for those French-English bilingual speakers, Ontario employers are willing to compete. And I'll talk a bit about this later, but we saw a lot of talk about salary competition to recruit and retain workers. Third, we saw the demand is particularly high in sectors that serve Francophone clients. So even though you might guess that the highest demand is in the public sector, we saw a lot of demand in sales, services, business type of work. So bilingual talent is mostly needed in sectors that provide services to Francophone clients in Ontario, Quebec, and internationally. And finally, we found that demand is concentrated in urban areas. No surprise, GTA, Ottawa region, and Sudbury as well are some of the highest places to find bilingual talent. So on this slide here, you'll see a table from the last Canadian census. And this is to get a sense of kind of who are French speakers in Ontario, where are they working? So the table represents people who speak French as one of their mother tongues. And on the left-hand side here, you'll see, as I just noted, that some of the most common occupations for French speakers in Ontario are in sales and services, business finance administration, and the public service third. But if you draw your attention over to the right-hand column, the percentages there, you'll see that even though sales and service, business finance and administration are where we see the most workers, those working in the public sector, so education, law, social community, and government services, are actually using their French most at work. So half of those workers are using their French on the job. And we can go to the next slide. Perfect, thank you. So another way to think about demand is, of course, to ask employers who they're hiring and why. So we did a survey of 400 Ontario employers with French language hiring needs and asked them what types of roles they were looking for bilingual Francophone workers in. And for the most part, we saw the highest response in entry-level including sales, customer service, client relations types of roles, but a widespread. So especially for Francophone-owned businesses, they're also looking for bilingual speakers in senior roles, operational roles, strategic decision-making, B2B, B2C. So a widespread of demand, but clustered around that kind of sales, client services, entry-level focus, as well as strategic decision-making at more senior levels, particularly in Francophone businesses. And we can go to the next slide. We also wanted to understand how different types of jobs broke down by years of experience, because as I mentioned on the last slide, we see a lot of demand for entry-level talent in sales roles and where those kind of more mid to senior roles were. So the GTA had the most job posts and also listed the highest average years of experience in those posts. And those roles were a lot of kind of finance, business, private sector decision-making roles. In Northern Ontario, a small number of job postings, but you can see still a lot of years of experience, and a lot of those roles were more in education, social services, a lot of them kind of clustered around Sudbury. And then east, of course, Ottawa, again, a high number of roles and mostly in the public sector. And I will say that if a job post listed no information about years of experience at all, and so it was just a purely entry-level role, it wouldn't appear in this chart. And we can go to the next table. So moving on to these mid and senior level roles clustered in the GTA, Sudbury, and Ottawa. We heard a lot from employers who we interviewed, as well as HR and recruitment professionals, that they engage in salary competition to recruit and retain these workers. But if we go to the next slide, that's not the only way to recruit and retain these workers. When we did our interviews with experts in this space, we heard a lot about other strategies for attraction and retention. And they include investing in French language infrastructure. So French language tools and documentation, including French keyboards, French grammar and spelling tools, translated workplace policies, things like email signatures, titles, not expecting people to do that for themselves. Support for English language skill development for Francophone professionals who wish to improve their English, and of course, vice versa. So building that capacity, that bilingual capacity within your own team. We heard from a lot of bilingual workers that they might be given ad hoc tasks, like saying, oh, we have a Francophone client. Could you just take on that task of managing that Francophone client? Or could you just do this translation for us? Side of desk, even if that's not part of their job description. So one way to help recruit and retain those bilingual workers is to provide transparent career progression pathways for roles that include bilingual skills, and not just keeping people in kind of entry-level roles if they are doing a lot of those tasks ad hoc. Offer upskilling training in French as well as in English, and then building additional duties into employees' job descriptions. So ensuring that the work that they're doing is appropriate to their title and seniority. And then on the entry-level side, kind of fostering bilingual talent, working with students through work integrated learning programs, co-ops, Francophone newcomer service organizations, and of course, working with organizations like UOF, which I think you'll hear more about today. So that's it for me. If we go to the next slide, I just have a QR code that will let you download the report. We have a French and an English version if you're interested in learning about the full findings. And I welcome any questions at the end of the presentation today. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Jacques, and hello, everyone. So I'm here to speak and to give you some tips about retaining bilingual talents. And what I want to say is that, of course, there are many ways to be able to retain talents, but training actually stands out as a winning strategy. Especially, it's a very powerful tool to any organization seeking to attract or retain top talents. And as you can see here on the slide, 83% of HR managers agree that training is essential to attracting top talents, while 86% believe that it's key to retaining talents. So imagine the even greater impact if you offered professional development in their own language for your bilingual employees. So the same actually applies also to non-bilingual professionals whose role involves French, as it would improve their effectiveness in their position. And also on this slide, you see that there's an impact on profit and productivity. And you should also consider this because research shows that companies offering comprehensive training programs achieve a 218% higher income per employee. This is actually mind-blowing statistics. So imagine if actually you offer professional development to your employees in their preferred language, it could significantly boost the team performance and also the outcomes. So offering, I'm not sure if I'm on the right slide. Yes, offering professional development in French provides a range of benefits, especially when it comes to retention. It helps promote long-term retention because it creates higher job satisfaction and a sense of belonging. Also, it maximizes the return on investment on talent because upskilling current employees is obviously far more cost-effective than recruiting new ones. And since you've already invested in hiring them at a premium, like Marie-Hélène said before, it's essential to retain them. And finally, providing training in French makes your employer brand stronger, positions your organization as a top choice for bilingual professional, and gives you competitive advantage. So beyond retention, training in French also boosts productivity and helps expand your market. It improves, we see that it improves workplace inclusivity in an environment where linguistic diversity is celebrated. And second, offering professional training for their role in French helps employees better navigate cultural differences, and this is very important. It improves their ability to engage with Francophone markets and strengthens brand loyalty. And lastly, we see that it improves job performance. There have been many studies on this. Employees and people actually retain information more effectively when they're trained in their native language, resulting in greater productivity. So now, we want to bring this to life for you, and I'd like to introduce Caroline Doyle, a leadership coach at Halifax Consulting, and Caroline will share a concrete example of an upskilling program we offer for client-facing roles, including customer service, sales, and order management even. So over to you, Caroline.
Thank you, Danielle. Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing great. So yes, today I want to give you an example of what University of Ontario can offer you. Can we move to the next slide? So anybody who's facing client, as you know, sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes you have to deal with a lot of frustration, right? So imagine a training that it will really help you to bring you to another model of yourself, another version of yourself that you will be able to handle any conversation. How? The way that we will train you is you will get information, you will learn, you will practice, and you will be coached. This way you're touching the four pillars to get 90% of absorption. So imagine that. So not generally the normal training, I think you're getting between 28 and 33%. Now you will get 90%. Why? Because you will have online training, small group. With small group, you can share experience. You can share examples that will help you to grow. You will have collaborative and individual training. So all this will help you. And this kind of training could be in French or in English. And why this one is a little bit different, can we go to the next slide? So this one, anybody who's in sales, leadership, customer service, first you have to be good on communication. So you will learn really the communication tip, the way to help you. How do you dig? Really the request when somebody is angry or not happy, how do you really make sure that you have the clear message? How do you remove or revoke the frustration? How do you manage this? How do you manage the conflict resolution? So all this, the objection, we know in sales, we have the objection. So how do you make sure that you get really what the clients needs? And how do you fix this and bring the solution that they need? So this kind of training will really help you. Next slide. And you will have a live evaluation. You will have a video to create. You will have a live evaluation. You will have an individual report and also a team report. So this kind of training will really help you. I gave it to one group last week, and they said 99% of their problem was resolved. I was like, okay, great, we can finish this. But this is how University of Ontario can really help you also to help you define what you need and bring some kind of solution. So thank you so much, and I hope we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, Caroline, for this great information. So now let's talk about success stories. So I would like to invite first Dominique Mayou to present his success story at Garda World in Bombardier. Dominique?
Hello, good day, everyone. My name is Dominique Mayou. As Jacques was saying at the beginning, I'm currently the Vice President of Human Resources for the Garda Cash Canada, a position in which I am since 2022. Garda World is the biggest player in the cash transportation industry in Canada, with roughly 70% market share, 50+ location, and 3,000 employees from coast to coast. Prior to joining Garda, I worked at Bombardier for 20 years, a company I joined right after I got my graduate degree in human resources and management from HEC Montréal, the business school of Université of Montreal. I moved to Toronto in 2013 when I accepted a corporate transfer with Bombardier to work on the Dash 8 program at the old Diablin plant in Downsview. 11 years ago, I didn't know much about Toronto and what it has to offer, and I didn't have much of a network either. I knew a bit about the Toronto Francophone community, and I started getting involved with Club Canadien Toronto, which I like to call the GDA Francophone Chamber of Commerce, which I eventually became board chair, and later on the founding president and still board chair of Fédération des gens d'affaires francophones de l'Ontario. Through my involvement with the Toronto Francophone community, I was fortunate enough to get exposed over time to the Toronto Francophone ecosystem, and in particular, the higher education ecosystem. This ecosystem is comprised of two colleges, Collège La Cité, Collège Boréal, as well as a bilingual university college, Glendon College, and now a Francophone university, UOF, which are qualifying a great number of upcoming Francophone talent in the GTA every year. Back in 2018, with the production ramp up of the Global 7500 program, Bombardier was in dire need to develop the next generation leader and workers at the Downsview plant, and was on the hunt for interns in all kinds of disciplines. Given my position at Bombardier at the time and my knowledge of the Toronto Francophone higher education ecosystem, I was able to create a pipeline of supply chain interns for Bombardier by connecting them with Collège Boréal. It was the first time in the history of Bombardier Toronto plant, probably in the history of the Diablin, that they were establishing an internship program with the Francophone organization. This turned out to be a success, with a lot of interns getting full-time position at the end of their internship, and the internship program being renewed for a second year. At Garda, our Mississauga branch is the place where our National Control Center, our NCC, is located. This center offers a 24/7, 365 days a year emergency assistance to our 1,800 armed guards on the road everywhere in Canada in case something goes wrong. Due to our strong presence in Quebec, roughly 30% of our personnel is located in La Belle Province. There's a need for our NCC employees to be bilingual. Historically, recruitment for these positions has always been a challenge. Again, given my knowledge of the Francophone ecosystem and my network, I was able to create fruitful partnership between higher education institution and Garda in order to address the recruitment challenges we were facing in Mississauga with our NCC. The lesson that I learned from my experience at Garda and Bombardier is that the Francophone ecosystem has a lot to offer to our local businesses, but it's largely unknown, even to Francophone companies like Bombardier and Garda. The higher education institution, which forms the GTA Francophone higher education ecosystem, are well established and for some, are in the picture for years. As I was saying previously, they are qualifying every year a great number of graduates, which in turn represent an asset for our local businesses. Rest assured, you don't have to be a Francophone or to be involved in the Francophone community like me to attract Francophone talent in your organization. Le Carrefour du Savoir et de l'Innovation, a department from l'UOF, can help you create bridges between talent from these institutions and your organization. There's also the continuous training department at l'UOF, who can offer French training for your bilingual talents. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Dominic. It's always great to have a real success story in the real life. So here's just a quick summary of what Dominic covered with us is, first of all, leverage Francophone network and ecosystem, build a strategic educational partnership, focus on bilingual role in critical operations, and bridge the gap with l'Université de l'Ontario Français. Thank you very much, Dominic. And now we have Manuela Sherizad, who will share a great success story at the Royal Ontario Museum. Manuelita, sorry.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. Really happy to be here this afternoon and share some success stories, not only from Royal Ontario Museum, or ROM as we like to be called, but also from other public sector agencies that share some similar traits around limited resources, limited funds, and also being often unionized. So this afternoon, I'll be sharing some examples from ROM's journey, and then talk about some other best practices and some of the impacts. Thank you. So happy to share this promotional video for us to look at. So as I was mentioning, just a few things that I'll be covering this afternoon, and really want to leave everyone with some additional thoughts in addition to all of the good practices that were shared in earlier presentations. So let's start with a bit of an overview of ROM. Everybody around the GTA knows of ROM and understands that it's a large museum. We've got over 100 years in operation. We have 18 million objects and specimens which are available, and they cover art, culture, nature in 40 galleries and exhibition spaces. So really, we're one of the top 10 in North America and the largest in Canada, as I was mentioning. We've got about 500 employees. The majority of those employees are part-time employees, and we are heavily unionized, as often happens with public sector organizations. So 85 to 90% of our employees are unionized. And of that number, we've got a really large number of frontline employees. So they're serving the public in various capacities. And so those people who are working with the public do need to often have the bilingual skills, and that's in a variety of roles. What we call visitor experience, so really greeting the visitors and directing them, helping them. We've got our security staff. We have a retail store. We've got a number of museum specialists and people who actually support some activities within the galleries. And we also have technical experts, administration staff, curators, and even management team members who are bilingual or where bilingualism is a definite strength and asset. So we are determined to be a real hub, very inclusive, and that does mean that we need to be able to support all our visitors. So what are some of the things that we've done that have helped us attract bilingual talent and retain some of that bilingual talent? There's a few examples I'm going to talk about, and these are mostly at ROM, but also I've seen and used similar approaches at other public sector agencies. So first of all, when we're talking about looking for candidates, we really rely a lot on the employees. There was a mention of employee referral programs earlier, and those do work. We encourage employees to do a lot of outreach within their own communities. So our bilingual employees are encouraged to post opportunities in their social media groups, and they may be various different groups that might be specifically targeted at folks who are bilingual or who are francophone. We have employees, because they're part-time, who also work in other organizations part-time. So we've encouraged them to be open about opportunities at ROM and to use those other networks. Networking is also important. So we heard a lot about some of the francophone events. There are other events that focus either on bilingualism or our industry, and we do want to encourage attendance at those, because you never know when you're going to meet a potential candidate. Also partnering with schools and educational institutions and being quite open and deliberate around the fact that there are definitely roles and opportunities for bilingual talent. Another thing that we've done at ROM, which has been quite successful, is to actually have our own career fairs where we invite people not only to apply for opportunities, but then we bring them into ROM and we give them an opportunity to look at where they're going to be working. We have a very strong brand. We know that people are very interested in ROM. They're very, they've had all kinds of memories around either being children or students and visiting ROM or coming with their families. So having people in our space, we found is a major selling point. And when we have these invitational career fairs, we do have a program. We do give people opportunity to be around the space and to visit. We also participate in specific targeted external career fairs as we have the opportunity. We use our applicant tracking system to make sure that we're having broad advertising and posting of roles via technology, but also with some of our partners who have specific targeted groups that they cater to, or specific communities. One of the things that we found also helpful is to have bilingual staff, either in human resources, in the management team, or other colleagues, and those people would participate in the process. So for example, as we have interviews, we're able to ask questions in French and English and really help the candidates get a sense of some of the things that they'll be dealing with the language, but also with real world scenarios. We ensure that people get a realistic preview of the job. And so as much as we have the screening and assessment to evaluate the language and preview the role expectations, we found that the more we do that, the more successful the candidates are once they start the job. Now I want to talk a bit about some of the outcomes that we've seen as we've hired bilingual talent and some of the benefits. So there were a number of comments earlier in the webinar around retention. Three of the things that we found very impactful are around training ensuring that people have these development opportunities, showing appreciation. So we have recognition programs that are really quite effective at helping people get recognized when they exhibit the values of the organization. And regular appreciation and communication has also been quite impactful. We've definitely seen that having bilingual talent improves visitor satisfaction and that feeling of welcome, that inclusivity that we're trying to promote and model. So when we have visitors coming from diverse linguistic backgrounds and we're able to talk to them in their language, especially French, because we know that that's a strong percentage of our visitors, that does help not only give them a better experience, but also reinforce ROM's reputation as being an inclusive, accessible institution. From an operational efficiency perspective, we've seen that having a bilingual workforce does absolutely help us very quickly address areas where we need either French-English language translation, or we need to be able to ensure that the material that we have in exhibitions or in directing people around is actually appropriate, is actually understandable, is clear, etc. That's been very, very good for us. And then the other piece is when we have bilingual talent, we're really able to show role modeling not only for our visitors and guests, but also for our staff. So one of the benefits is that people have now started asking, you know, maybe I could take some French courses. Maybe I can learn a few words. It's that exchange among the team members, which helps both the bilingual employees, but also the current employees who might be unilingual or who might be bilingual in other languages. So overall, it's been a very positive experience. And as I think about some of these techniques, approaches, and things that have been successful in other public sector organizations, it's really helped us to not only attract, but also retain bilingual talent.
Thank you very much, Manuelita, for the great practices you have at ROM and the great outcome that you have from that. So thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Mareva, who will present one of the solutions that we have is the Francophone Hub from the Université de l'Ontario Français. Mareva.
Thank you very much, Jack. Hi everyone, bonjour tout le monde. I'm very glad to be here with you. So I would like to present you the Francophone Hub, which is the carrefour des savoirs et de l'innovation. It's like a department of the university. So if you want to hire or meet bilingual talents and you don't know where to start, basically you can contact us. So the Francophone is your solution. The Francophone Hub is your solution. So what we do is like we are like a bridge between employers, the Francophone community, and the university, so the student and professor. So we provide like access to a dynamic pool of French and English bilingual talents. So if you want to become a partner, you have an email address, I think, like on the slide. Don't hesitate to reach out. And next slide, please. So how does it work? Like the Francophone Hub offers like a variety of opportunities for businesses. So basically we organize networking event, workshop. We do like internship, volunteering, exhibition, mentorship program, etc., etc. So our next event is 24th of October. So maybe Daniel, you can share the Eventbrite. The event's gonna be for the entrepreneurs. So don't hesitate to come. You're more than welcome, and you're gonna be in contact with a lot of different organization, employers. Next slide, please. I don't know if it's working. Next slide, yeah. Here you can see like some of her organization was partner was like the Carrefour, des Savoirs et de l'Innovation, so the Francophone hub. So we have like organization from different fields, some business, technology, communication, marketing, media, healthcare, education, art, community engagement, so bilingual, francophone from Toronto and even Ontario, immigration, employment. So it's very diversified. You can go to the next slide. It's just showing some of her partner. You can go next slide. So if you want to be part of this community and if you want to contact or like do some networking event with us, it's like free. So don't hesitate to reach out. I think Daniel's gonna be like put the email address on the chat so you can contact us. And what I want you to know is like her first student's gonna be graduated in 2025. Like during spring 2025. So, but before that, they have to do an internship. So actually, we're looking for companies who wants to like have bilingual students to do like project development or human resources or developing partnership, etc., etc. It's gonna be like internship for more than 200 hours, part-time or full-time. It's gonna start in February. So same, if you're interested in having like a bilingual French and English student, don't hesitate to reach out. Also, next slide. As I said, so they're gonna be graduated like during the spring. So they're gonna be on the market, on the job market, and we're gonna organize like a job fair at the beginning of 2025, and we need like companies. So if you want to be to be a partner to the Francophone Hub, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marie-Eva, for all that great information. And yes, l'Université de l'Ontario Français can add a lot of economic value to businesses and organizations. So on that, I would like just to review some takeaways that we have from this webinar. First of all, what we did cover today, so over 5,000 plus job listing for French-speaking candidates. So that is impressive. It shows that there's a huge demand on that, especially in the sectors of finance, business, education, healthcare, and government. The high demand for bilingual roles, especially in customer services, client relation, and senior level sales position. So senior level position and sales position. And so what we have to remember is that the bilingual talent can command 20 to 30% higher salary, depending on their role and seniority or experiences. So the next one is the key strategy for attracting talent. So business branding, so the employer branding, position your organization as bilingual friendly workplace, community engagement. So I think pretty much everybody talked about that today. So attend Francophone community event, partner with educational institutions like the Université de l'Ontario Français, and sponsor bilingual initiative to strengthen your recruitment pool. In terms of partnership, so build a strong connection with the Francophone community. And again, Marie-Eva talked about that. So the Université de l'Ontario Français can help you with that. And create incentives, so offer bonuses, scholarships, and flexible working condition. On the next one, the key strategy for retaining talents. So we're talking here, what we hear today is that professional development in their language, so offer continued education and upskilling in French. It's allow employees to better understand complex tasks, improving job performance and satisfaction. Include the tailored program for client-facing role, leadership, and technical skill. Having a clear career progression, so provide transparent pathways for advancement that recognize and reward the bilingual skill and people, and recognition and belonging, so create a workplace culture where bilingual skills are valued and employees feel a sense of belonging throughout recognition program and career growth. So on that, you have here the contact info for Université de l'Ontario Français. And I think we are at the point that we can open for a question at this time. So Danielle and Taylor, so I don't know if we have any question in the chat so far that we haven't had a chance to answer, or if anybody has a question. So Taylor or Danielle, so what is the process for that? For people who wants to ask a question?
Yes.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Danielle.
No, you can just put your question in the chat. Can we unmute also, Taylor? If someone wants.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you'd like to unmute and just ask your question directly to one of the speakers here, feel free. We have a couple of minutes for Q&A, so if anyone has questions, please feel free to jump in the chat or unmute yourself.
Yes, this is the time for your questions. You have a lot of professionals here and experts on this topic of recruiting, retaining, and growing the bilingual pool. So don't hesitate. It's really the time to ask your questions. You can mute yourself. You can, put that in the chat. We really want to hear from you and your questions. We had great testimonials from the ROM, from Bombardier, from also, help me here, Garda World. So that was really interesting. And you receive tips and tricks and great advices from professionals, from Headhunter here, Marie-Hélène. So we're waiting for your questions.
Hi there. I've got a question. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Ben. A quick message to the panelists and everyone. And before I ask my question, just thank you very much. Merci beaucoup sincèrement d'avoir fait ça ensemble. C'est vraiment touchant. Puis on apprécie l'appui beaucoup. I've got a question as a member of the Toronto Board of Trade and small business owner. If we were to take a step back before we get to the stage of retaining talent and address a challenge that I think a lot of small and medium-sized business owners might have in Ontario before they get to that point, which is generating additional demand to justify a recruitment campaign for bilingual talent. What would you say to someone who is either in a large organization looking to build better products or build better translations to attract a French market, to grow a French team, or to small and medium businesses who are looking for French clients or French work and opportunities or opportunities to build French products to justify expanding a Francophone team? Is there advice or resources available for that sort of pre-step?
Thank you very much. Jacques, Manuelita, or someone else of our panelists who wants to answer to this question? Great question. Manuelita, you still here?
Yeah, I was thinking about Manuelita or Dominique, if they have good practices about that to share with us. Manuelita?
Yeah, sure. I just want to make sure that I've understood the question. It's
Sure.
around making sure there's enough demand so that you can then go and hire. Did I understand correctly?
Effectively, yes. But like if we were to word it another way, if there is a primarily Anglophone organization that is looking for a new opportunity, what does a bilingual workforce contribute to pursuing that opportunity? How can I grow my business or anyone's business using either a Francophone market or Francophone talent? Like before we get to hiring and retaining, how do I generate revenue to justify it? Basically, like that initial pre-step.
Okay, maybe I can just share some thoughts. You know, I'm not a small business owner, but some of the things that I heard from the other speakers, which I've also seen in my public sector organizations, are the networking, really doing a lot of outreach and being present in places where you will be interacting or get an opportunity to present your goods and services to that Francophone market. So there was a conversation around associations. I can also, you know, I wholeheartedly support and encourage you and others to participate in meetings of the Club Canadien and other associations, because there is a lot of opportunity for exchange there and to present your goods and services. That's the one thing that I would really focus on, just based on everything I've heard today.
If I can add maybe to that, is based on my past experience, and Manuel, I think you're right on. I think based on my experience in the financial service industry, I think it is important to target the market that you want to develop and make the right study and analysis about that market and about the how many Francophone live in that area, example, and what type of product that you're selling, you want to offer or service. And when that is done and you have a business case, a potential business case, it's important to recruit the right bilingual people who fit the profile that you want. And I think it's an investment we make. Based on my experience, when we do that, we recruit the right person that can speak the same language and the customer we want to attract. That's a success path, I think. I don't know if that's for your question.
It does. And for say a large organization who wants to make that business case but has to sell it to a C-suite or an executive team, what resources or research exists that you would point them toward to help them better justify that case in less time?
I would say that the presentation we had from Rice, the first presenter we had, so a lot of analysis on different markets, and that's certainly an organization that can help. Yes.
Fantastic, thank you.
And with Université de l'Ontario Français also, don't hesitate to knock at the door of the university and contact us, and we might have a solution for you on that.
Also great to know. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I will add that the Toronto Board of Trade also has a lot of good resources and a lot of good information about that. I don't know, Taylor, if you would like to add to that, but I think it's the Toronto Board of Trade is a great resource that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone looking to learn more about the Toronto Region Board of Trade and the services we have, I will put my email in the chat there. Feel free to reach out anytime. But yeah, does anyone have any other questions for any one of our panelists? Okay, well, with that, Danielle, Jacques, Manuelita, Caroline, any other panelists that I may have forgotten, thank you all for your time today. Very much appreciate it. Danielle or Jacques, do you have any final words for us?
Jacques.
Thank you very much for your time today. And so you have access to this presentation. And Danielle, maybe you can explain how that presentation will be available for all the participants and how you're going to share it.
Sure. Merci tout le monde first in French. Merci beaucoup. And the presentation will be shared by the Toronto Board of Trade So you'll have everything, the slides, and you'll be able to dive into what was said today. So thank you very much for being with us. And hopefully we'll see you next time at the University of l'Ontario Français. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Merci. Bye-bye.